My next guest was a career criminal serving a prison sentence when her life changed forever. Joining us live from Maricopa, Arizona, Katie Souza. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. This is so awesome.
Thanks for joining us. You say in your book that you grew up in a loving home with a loving family, but you rebelled, started using drugs, cooking meth. Tell us about this.
Well, I think it started when I moved to a different part of the country, and I was one of the minorities in that area, and it caused a lot of friction at school. I was one of the only white people at school, and that caused me to have a switch in my attitude. It was like, be tough and be aggressive, or be or be beat up. So I chose not to be a victim. I chose to start victimizing people, and I became very aggressive, very violent. And then pretty soon that led to me getting involved with drugs, and then I became a drug dealer. And I started to become a collector, do collections for myself. If people owed me money, I would go to their house and go get it by gunpoint. Or if other people owed other drug dealers money, I'd go collect for them and get a commission out of it. And I kind of lived my life like I was an American terrorist, basically, which is a terrible thing to say, but nonetheless true. And my life was basically gone down in devastation. I had 12 arrests in 1 year at one point until finally I was arrested by the federal marshals, taken into prison. And that's when my whole journey with God began.
It seemed like you had no fear in that chapter of your life. You would go up to people's homes and, as you said, hold people up by gunpoint. No fear.
You know, I'd always been a very outgoing child. I was a big tomboy. I went hunting when I was growing up, fishing. My mom would take me out and we would go and shoot guns and handle weapons. So I was very familiar with weapons. And I was very courageous even as a child. I was very daring. And so that kind of bled over into my criminal life. So I felt the same thing, this ability to be aggressive and fearless, as you say. And it was interesting. I think the more angry I got, the more fearless I got, because I just was so mad about everything. I don't even know what everything was, but I was just possessed with anger and violence. So I think my anger was like gasoline to my tank. I was aggressive because of how angry I was at everything. And so I think that was a big driving force in my life, was the anger.
And then, as you said, arrested in 1999, and things changed when you found a Bible in prison. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I was in holding, and they put me in a cell into a unit that didn't have any people in it. That never happens, right? Never. And there was nothing to do. I didn't have any cigarettes, didn't have any money. I was trying to bum cigarettes from the trustees that would go by the door. And I found a Bible. That was the only thing to do in there, was like one book to read was the Bible. And when I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the coolest thing ever. This is the book that has those stories about the kid and the giant and about that guy Noah and the ark. And I read it and I thought, wow, this is amazing. And as I continued to go through the Bible, I started seeing that there were stories about the ancient Israelites being taken into captivity for sinning against God, and how he held them into captivity. And then in the captivity in Babylon, how he actually changed their lives in there. He changed them, he changed their hearts. And then when they got out, he enabled them to go back and retake the promised land and have possession of their inheritance again. And as I read these stories, I'm like, wow, this is us. This is every inmate that I know. This is our story. So I started teaching that as Bible studies in prison. I was like, wow, look at this. This book is talking about us. And I would teach people this, and my Bible studies started growing and growing and growing inside of prison. I was like baptizing people in the shower, leading people in praise and worship. Pretty soon our unit is called the God Pod. And then I'm shipped off to Big Girls Prison, and we start a big gathering of women there, a big group of Christian women there, start having prayer circles, worship time. I'm like the Bible study teacher, one of the leaders of this large group. And God was doing amazing things for us. And then God did a miracle for me. He actually told me, look, I know you have a 12 and a half year sentence, because that's what I was given by the feds, but I'm going to get you out of that sentence. I'm going to bless you and give you a new out date. And he gave me this new out date. And through this series of events and everyone praying and believing, that date actually came to pass.
Wow.
And it was so amazing because at first they thought I was crazy. They took me to the facility psychiatrist. My personal counselor called me in and thought I was going crazy because I was saying I was hearing the voice of God. And it was this big deal that happened. So when the miracle happened and I actually won a court case, went to court, and they took 7.5 years off my time. And then when they recalculated my out date and found out it was the date God had given me, and I've been telling everybody in the facility, this is when God's going to let me out. And then it happened. It was amazing because it enabled the people in the prison to really believe, to have something to believe in. Even the unbelievers were like, wow, I can't believe that happened. That's so amazing. So it was awesome what God did in that moment. It was awesome.
Well, we are out of time. Thank you so much, Katie. If people want to get in touch with you or hear more of your story, they can go to your website. And your website is?
KatieSouza.com. Real
Awesome.
easy.
Thank you. And the name of the book is Healing the Wounded Soul. Thank you so much, Katie, for joining us today.
Thanks a lot. See you soon.
And I hope that what Katie said to you, said to us, ministered to you. You might be in a place right now where you just feel hopeless. Maybe you've gone through trauma. Maybe you have been one of those angry people like Katie had alluded that her past was like. Know that we have prayer lines available all the time, 1-866-273-4444. Amazing prayer partners that would love to pray with you. If you do not yet know Jesus, they would love to introduce him to you. You know, that is what made the difference in Katie's life, is knowing Jesus, and finding his word. And we would love to be able to connect you with the man of Jesus as well as his word today. Call us, the phone number's at the bottom of our screen. Stay with us, we'll be right back.